What's up, guys? Welcome back to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Palantir stock, ticker symbol PLTR, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Monday, March 4th. Alright guys, so Palantir stock in regular trading hours here today, down about 15 cents a share, minus 0.6%. After hours here, we are looking at some, S&P 500 inclusion drama. It's down about 2.93%. Listen, if you've been watching the channel for any period of time, you're probably sick of hearing me say, after hours, we did see a little bit of a pop in volume on the initial move. We had a couple of legs downside, and that did exceed at least afternoon volume, late morning, afternoon volume. But the volume fades incredibly quickly, and we really aren't seeing a lot of sustained volume in the after hours as we get later and later into Friday here, which is when I'm recording this. So, truthfully, the real test with these kind of moves, it comes the open after. Okay, so listen, I'm not delusional. I would prefer that the stock were flat or up in equal amount in the after hours from a bullish perspective. Okay, but I'm realistic. And I understand how the stocks move in after hours. Listen, if you've ever traded a stock after hours, especially later in the after hours, you understand that it's incredibly easy to move. The level 2, the orders, they space out, right? It becomes much more thinly traded and things get bullied. They get moved around on very low volume. It's incredibly easy, actually almost scary, how easy it is to move a stock in the after hours, especially in later hours. So let's do our daily ritual here on Palantir as we look ahead to Monday, starting here on the 5-minute chart. By the way, if you are new here or if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. I have a new goal. My goal is to hit 5K subs by market open Monday. It's certainly not going to happen without your help. So please do subscribe to the channel and I'll continue to provide value. Now, every day here, we're always looking at our volume profile. I prefer to do so on the 5-minute chart. To me, I think it's the most contextual chart to look at this on a day-to-day perspective. And you guys know what I'm looking for, right? I'm always looking for big changes in volume that correlate with big, obvious moves in stock price. So we actually got a lot of consolidation here in the second 3 quarters of the day. And you can see here how, I think minimal. We had a couple of bigger candles in the after hours, but once we start seeing this sustained kind of fade in the after hours, volume dries up substantially. So let's focus on intraday here. You see that we got that big push off the open and then kind of a quick fade. But interestingly, we also saw a very quick fade in volume. We didn't really see any sustained volume candles, which is typically what I'm looking for off of moves, which usually end up happening on the second 5-minute candle to maybe the first half hour or 10 a.m. in New York Eastern time. My chart is, of course, Central. And then you had this one little volume pop on that red bar. But truthfully, I'm always kind of looking for more than one 5-minute bar to pull anything definitive out of the chart. So listen, if you're on any chat rooms tonight, over the weekend, whatever, you might see some bears boasting about, these 2 legs. But truthfully, I think, first of all, most of the talk is probably going to be about after hours. But truthfully, on those first 2 downside legs that we saw off of, or at least in the first hour of trading, the volume is not, for me, it's kind of a wash. It's not definitive enough. What would make it definitive enough for me? Well, if we saw, 4 bars in a row with 2.5 to 3 million shares on those red candles downside, that would be a little bit of a different story. I would sit here and tell you then it looks like the bears kind of won that 20-minute period. But let's move on here because that's not entirely the case. So looking at the 30-minute chart, you can see it's interesting. After hours, we are actually hanging out right at the 200 period moving average. So it looks like the 200 period on the 30-minute, at least to start here, is enough to put an end to the quote-unquote bleeding, the low volume bleeding here in the after hours. But upon close, we were actually testing that 50 period on the 30-minute chart into the close and unable to claim that. Now, you guys know, I'm always just looking at these as self-fulfilling prophecies, right? The most popular indicators on the most popular time frames, because I'm always looking for what has the most eyeballs. So come Monday here, listen, this is what I'm looking at from a bullish perspective. First of all, if we're still down here come open on Monday, I would want to see a hold of the 200 period, at least to start on the 30-minute, and at high volume, as much volume as possible. Bounce up away from the 200 period, get back up toward that 50 period, okay? And again, we were respecting that as a resistance heading into the close, so Best case scenario on the 30-minute on Palantir stock come Monday for me, from a bullish perspective, will be to bounce up away from the 200 period on high volume, reclaim the 50, test it as support, and bounce away. So claiming the 200 period as support, and then also claiming the 50 period as support with that retest and bounce would be beautiful. Okay, bears, really simple for you come Monday if you're bearish on Palantir. You want to see a high volume break downside on the 30-minute through the 200 period, that gray line. Now moving on here to the 4-hour chart, you can see here that on the 4-hour, we are also getting near that 50 period and testing that. It's in a similar spot as the 200 period on the 30-minute chart, which is kind of what I'm always looking for, right? I'm interested in levels that are in similar areas that maybe add a little bit of beef to that area, right? So the 4-hour, it's super simple, super contextual. Bulls, I want to see a hold of that 50 period, which is currently sitting right about 24 bucks a share. Again, high volume bounce away. Bears for you, really simple here. We've seen this act as support just recently. Okay, you want to get back down beneath that 50 period on the 4-hour. And, you know, even if we see a high volume break downside, ideally, if I were bearish on Palantir, I'd want to see a retest, okay, and a rejection, a fade. Ideally not on lower than average volume either, at least average or higher than average. Now, let's move on here to what I see as the most important chart. This is the chart that gets the most eyeballs, okay? Hence becoming the most psychologically important chart of all, which is going to be the daily. Everyone's looking at the daily chart. Funds, institutions, every retail investor, trader. But understand that this is the daily, right? It's going to show the close. It's not going to show after hours. So the stock right now is about 24.17. Okay, it's right around 24 and a quarter, depending on where after hours here closes tonight. As we head into Monday, here's what I'm really looking for. This becomes really simple once you start looking at the daily. If I'm a bull, I have, two really big priorities. Number one is obviously just hold 24 bucks, but I think I would actually move that to number two, because priority number one would really be as a bull is to reclaim 25 bucks, because 25 is a huge psychological level, and a reclaim of 25 would be a really big power move from the bulls here. Now, we talked on Thursday night, we reclaimed 25 bucks a share. That was a really great thing to see. But today, intraday, we actually did see a push into that more recent high, reclaiming that recent high, right? But now, of course, we're back down toward 24.20. So just a hold of 24 and a reclaim of 25 would be beautiful from a bullish perspective. Come Monday, bears, one thing is on your mind really is break downside through 24, head down, at least on the daily chart, right? One thing, head down toward that technical level that we've seen as of late being respected, and we've had drawn forever at 23, okay? Now, the options traders, what was their bias here Friday as we position heading into Monday, right? This is in typical Palantir fashion. Look at this, 579,000 contracts, 441,000 calls, 138,000 puts. Again, I don't know what the options traders, especially the call buyers on Palantir, I don't know what they're taking lately, but it has been such an absurd ratio to the bullish side as of late, just consistently. It's actually very interesting. And if we kind of break this down by time frame, we go 0 to 20 delta range, it's going to be the short-term speculators on average, right? 103,600 calls and about 64,000 puts. So we are seeing a bullish bias in the far out of the money, gambly style speculative contracts as well. And then you make your way down every single delta range, out of the money, at the money, in the money. On average, it's going to be shorter term, more mid-term, and more long-term sentiment. They're all leaning with a call side bias here today on Palantir, here Friday, right as we head into Monday. Listen, if you got value out of the video, I'm covering Palantir extremely consistently. Goal is 5K subs by market open on Monday. It's a big goal, so please jump on board, help me reach that goal, and I'll see you next week.